What's up, everybody? I'm back. Sorry for that little bit of a butchering there. But this is a story video that I've wanted to do for a really long time. And it's been about a year since this era of my life ended. It's been considerations about what to talk about, and finally having time to do a video of this magnitude. I can now tell my stories about DI and stuff like that. This era of my life takes about 10 years to talk about. 10 years. About 10 years of my life, I did DI. I'm a 10-year veteran. And it was a great period of my life. A lot of hardship, a lot of success, a lot of triumph, a lot of sadness. Very up and down, but it was an overall very rewarding experience, and I'll probably talk about that at the end of the video as well. It's a very rewarding experience, and I can't wait to tell you guys these stories. This is going to be a really long video, though. It's going to be a lot of me talking. There's a lot of details to cover. This is 10 years we're talking about here, so just bear with me. I've got a little bit of an outline made so that I make sure I hit all the major points. I might forget a few small things. Brian, Darkroom7, you and anybody else who was in DI with me during this time, if you want to see this video, comment down below what I missed, because I'd love to make sure all the details are hit up. So first off, what is DI? I've talked about it a few times on this channel briefly, but DI is an acronym for Destination Imagination, and that's a creative nonprofit problem-solving program for second grade through college, through university level to a degree. It's pretty sparse. It's not like it was. It used to be pretty well known, but nowadays not so much. So really, let's say second grade through high school. So second grade through 12th grade. Now, I didn't do it in the second grade, and the reason why I didn't do it in the second grade is the second grade version is kind of like an introductory level. You can only compete at the regional competition. I'll talk about what the regional competition is. That's like the first competition. You can't move on, even no matter how good you are, because it's just supposed to be introductory. You get like a recognition medal, and it's a lot of fun to watch them, try it out for the first time. But I didn't compete in the second grade. I found out about it in the third grade at a school event where they were organizing teams. My parents thought it'd be a great thing for me to get involved in, meet some people or hang out with some friends and form a team. I think we heard about it through some other people at the school. And I remember we walked into the gym, and I just kind of plopped down with the team, and that was the start of it. That was the beginning of a great era in my life. Now, yeah, so there's in DI, there's like a certain set of challenges. You have a challenge, and during that challenge, what you do is you pick the challenge, and it has a question, like a problem you have to solve. And the way you solve it is you build like a presentation of the solution. So you build and everything the kids build, okay? You build the kids build the set pieces, the kids make the costumes, the kids build all of the props, the kids paint everything, they write their own script, they rehearse their own script, they perform their own script, they have to move everything, they have to work with everything. Like the parents have no involvement here. There's a coach, sometimes two coaches, who will guide the team along, and they take care of a lot of the administrative stuff and financial stuff, but they don't actually build anything. They don't actually participate in that in any way. They just kind of lead the team, like the supervisor of the whole team, sort of. That doesn't mean my coaches did not help out, but that's a little bit of under wraps sort of thing. But that's what they were for. Mostly it was a kid-involved thing. Kids did everything. And the kids who picked the challenge themselves, and there's a scientific challenge, technical challenge, fine arts challenge, improv challenge, service learning challenge. There was was that it? Was that all 5 of them? There was one specific to the Rising Stars, which was the second grade level. And then there were fine arts, technical, scientific, service learning, improv. I think that was it. I think that was all the challenges. And you pick between those, and they have their own certain way that you would solve them. I'm not going to talk about the service learning challenge at all during this, that we never did it. We did do the other 4 at least once, but not the service learning challenge. What it was is basically you did a project outreach sort of thing. You like helped out the community and then presented what you did for the community in kind of like a little story sort of thing. And that's what all the presentations were. They were stories. They were like you present it like a play, like a mini play. And usually you have like acting going on, and then off to the side there was like a other thing you do, like the technical challenge or like the another thing. You had that going off on the side, and you would incorporate certain aspects into the performance that were for points. And so if you had something, you had to show off something, or you had to make something work, or you had to talk about a certain thing, or incorporate research. They would find that throughout your performance. You incorporate into the performance, and you find it, and then they would score you based on that. Some of them you could have them going off to the side, like something to drop something on something or whatever. You could have that going off on the side, stuff like that. It's for certain challenges, mainly a technical challenge. You could have that happening, and then the grade for the challenges was you would have, like, I think it was out of the total was out of 360 points or 340 points, and then 240 of those points came from the central challenge, which was what I've been talking about this entire time. It's your entire main presentation of the performance. And you have a lot of time to work on it. You start in like August or September, and the regional competition started in February. And then after the regional competition, if you moved on, you could continue working on until March or like the beginning of April. And then if you moved on to that, you get to keep working on until the end of May. So you got a lot of time to work on it. But you had to condense it down to an 8-minute performance. That was a big thing. 8-minute performance. And you had to fit it all in and make sure you hit all the aspects, all the pieces, all the points, and you get to do that. And so that was very challenging sometimes to get it all in 8 minutes. Sometimes it was hard to, because because you didn't want it super short, but you didn't want it like right up to the marker either, in case you had a little bit of like things that didn't quite work out. You needed a couple extra seconds, or maybe extra few seconds or whatever here and there. You wanted a little bit of leeway time, but you also didn't want like a 2-minute performance. So you kind of had to find that middle ground, and it was hard sometimes to do that. And then the other 100 points came from the instant challenge. Now, the instant challenge, which stayed constant, quotation marks around constant, stayed constant around the entire time we did DI. And basically it was a separate challenge, and you had no clue going in. You had no clue what it was going to be about. So you had to go in, and you were read the challenge, and you would walk into a room, you would register, you make sure you checked in, then you go to a holding room. You could like talk to people and stuff like that. There were other teams that were sitting there, and you could talk to them for a little bit or whatever. And then you would be escorted to the actual instant challenge room, where they would have a challenge set up, and you wouldn't know what the challenge was prior to it going in. That's the whole point of it being an instant challenge. So you wouldn't know. But there would be certain fundamentals that the challenge would be based upon. So what you could do is during your rehearsals or during your meetings or whatever, you could practice certain instant challenges. You wouldn't be able to practice the exact instant challenge, but you'd be able to practice ones that focused more on acting, or ones that focused on building sort of things, or making something work, or completing a certain task or stuff like that, so that you could apply those fundamentals to the instant challenge. You could work on structure. You could work on who takes the lead, who reads the instructions, who does all this sort of stuff. Assign roles, sort of, was what we had. We had like roles they didn't work out that well. We kind of just implied everybody had this certain thing that they needed to do to make sure that the challenge was completed on time. Because most times you had like a prep time. It was like 2 minutes or something like that. You had a prep time to discuss, and then like 5 minutes to build it, and then maybe like a minute to execute the plan, sort of thing. So I was in like certain sections, and they would go bam, bam, bam. They wouldn't give you any time. Just go bam, 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 and then So you had to be ready. You had to be on your toes. You had to be ready to go. And so, it was hard sometimes, but we got it done. And it was a little intense being in there, because also the thing is, you cannot talk about the instant challenge after it happens. You talk about the instant challenge to anybody else that was not in the room with you when it happened, when you did the challenge, you were disqualified. And it was so scary. You did not want to talk about it. You would talk about it in secret, like maybe with your other coach, because only one coach could go in the room at the time. Another coach, you had to talk about that, and maybe some parents, you had to be very quiet, very secretive, sort of thing. So it was a little stressful, but hey, we did it. Sometimes we did pretty good. Sometimes we got really high scores. Sometimes not so much. So some of them are a little bit easier than others. There's teams that would always score super high, some teams that were very like us, and some teams that always scored super low. But hey, it's all about the preparation coming in, and it provides a different aspect to the challenge to make it work. So that's basically what DI was. Again, there were 3 sets of competitions: the regional competition, the state competition, and then finally the global competition. They also had bonus competitions where we could compete like an international. They did programs for that in China and Poland. And actually, I will talk about this a little bit later, we were actually set to do one of those, and something happened that kind of hindered that. So I will talk about that a little bit later in the video. But I'm going to try my best to go in chronological order of the eras of the DI stuff. Explain what it is. Let's go do it. So, again, the regional competition takes place late February, early March. Sometimes mid-February. I think they moved it up to mid-February, midway through our time there. The state competition was always at the end of March, the beginning of April, sometimes the middle of April. And then the global competition was the end of May. It was right before Memorial Day. It was a multiple day event. The other 2 were just 1-day events. This one was like a 4-day event, and stuff like that. It was really, really cool. We'll get into that a little bit later in the video, what stuff happened there, because it was pretty awesome to do. And they also hold it in like one location. Like the regional state competitions were through several different locations, like schools and stuff like that. Whereas the global competition was held at one place. Like everybody from the world competed there, and so we'll talk about that. They had 2 different locations and stuff like that. So I hope you stick around. But that's what DI basically was. Let's talk about. So I've got different arrows laid out, and I will pull them up right about now. So first year was, again, 3rd grade. That was the first year you could really compete in DI anyways, so I got in right at the start, which was fun. Our team name that year was the Mysterious Crazy Crew. I had to do a little bit of back checking on my files for that one, but yes, it was Mysterious Crazy Crew. It had 6 people in it. We've gone to school together. It was the 3rd grade again, and we had 2 coaches, and I remember we picked the technical challenge. We picked the technical challenge the first year, and I remember one of the big technical... Every challenge, by the way, had a technical aspect to it. So, like, every challenge had a technical aspect to it that you had to incorporate. Even the Fine Arts Challenge, which we'll get to a little bit later, had that. The only one that didn't have it was the Improv Challenge, because it's pretty simple. It's pretty self-explanatory once you get to know the challenge, but this one, I remember we had to build, like, this car, right? This car had to do, like, move. So basically what we did is we found some old tires and some old parts, and we just put, like, this, like, wheelbarrow car thing together, and one of the people on our team sat on it, used, like, wheelchair, like rolled it like a wheelchair, and rolled it around. Did a pretty damn good job of it, too. The car was nothing special, though. And I also remember our performance was centered around, like, me and one other person on the team was like siblings, and we were arguing over who got the TV and toys and stuff like that. And then somebody else was like performing an Apple commercial, and she would actually take a bite out of an apple and stuff like that. It was a pretty elaborate set. The TV especially was a big piece of it. And then what we did is And then someone had the car, and then there were some people working in the back that did like sound effects and stuff like that, made sure everything ran correctly. Behind the TV, which is like our backdrop, we made a lot of backdrops. Those were always some of the bigger portions of our sets when we had those. And then now that year we competed at the regional competition. I don't remember how exactly well we were expecting to do, but we did really good. Scored first place at the regional competition. Yay, yay, woohoo! It was super fun at that competition, performing on stage for the first time. Having a front and center position. I've always had a little bit of stage fright. Actually, I have a lot of stage fright. A little bit less now that I have to talk on YouTube and stuff. I don't have to talk on YouTube, but I do. So it kind of helps. In working at a job where I talk to people all the time has helped it as well. And plus lots of other things. But still have it. And especially in DI, I had it for the longest time because you're so stressful. The time limit and making sure you get everything right. Especially if you had more of a leader role in the performance and stuff like that. It was really beautiful. Then I scored first place for regionals, and the regional competition was always a smaller competition. I remember it took place at our high school for the first few years that we did DI, that I did DI at least, and it had the space for it. I mean, it was just the region. There was 8 regions in Michigan, I believe there was 6 or 8. There were 6, I think, at the start. I think it went up to 8 eventually. And then what we did is, so then you compete against all those, and then the top 3 from each challenge, and then you had 3 levels in each challenge. So you had the elementary, middle, and in the top level, there's 3 levels, like 3 age regions. Elementary, middle, senior, or high school level. I don't remember what it was called especially, but 3 of those from each of those groups from each challenge we move on. So at the end of the day, there'd be 9 teams from each challenge moving on to the state competition. If there was 9, if there was enough for top 3, if there wasn't enough for top 3, if there was only 3 or less, then all those teams just get to move on by default. And that was not a common occurrence back when I started DI. The later years, it really did become a common occurrence for teams to only have 1 or 2 in each section, especially because when you got older, less and less teams participated in it. Some of the bigger, more popular challenges had a lot of competition to them, but some of the ones we didn't really have much of them. I'll get to that a little bit later in the video, but we still scored first, and it was a huge accomplishment. I remember we were so thrilled, so excited. I remember we got up and we sprinted over to get get our medals, and we were just on top of the world, just ecstatic that we had gotten first place. It was so awesome, really, really cool. And then we go on to the state competition, and I remember since the state competition at the time. Oh, I want to talk about something else from the regional competition. That was trading. We had like a trading thing where we could take old artifacts, like old stuff, and then we get to like trade it, right? And we get to trade it for other cool things. And I remember that first year I brought a bunch of stuff to trade, and I set it on like a little blanket on the floor, and nobody came by. Nobody fucking came by. It was so boring, so annoying. Oh my god. And then eventually I just gave up and left. I didn't care for it. That sucked though. Like I brought all this bunch of cool items to trade and nobody wanted to trade them, so I ended up selling them at the garage sale, I think, that year or whatever. I don't quite remember, but and then take first place in the state competition. State competition also had that. I never participated at the state competition. That's actually that first time was my only time ever participating in that, simply because it was just so boring. There's so many other things I could do, like watch other performances, or I could eat or anything else other than just sit there for an hour or whatever and just not do anything about it. But the state competition was held for years. It was held at Central Michigan University in Mount Pleasant. And I got really familiar with the campus because it was there for a really long time. It would eventually switch from Central Michigan to MSU, which for us was better because when we had Central Michigan, we had to get a hotel or we had to drive. It was a longer day because we had to drive like an hour to get there each way, or we just had to stay in a hotel, which costed more money. MSU was easier because it was closer. We could easily do it in a day. Didn't have to worry about it. The regional competition started at our high school. It moved about 30 minutes away to a different high school that I remember had the worst internet ever. You had got no cell service. If you did not connect to the internet, you could not access your phone at all. I think that was purposeful so that students wouldn't be on their phone during the day. They made it so you had to access the Wi-Fi. You'd register your device to access the Wi-Fi so that students couldn't just access the Wi-Fi whenever they wanted to. That school was so hell-bent on making kids not do their Wi-Fi connection. It was so annoying because you had to literally, you step 2 feet outside, you get a perfect cell service. You step inside the building, nope, nothing. It was horrible. Nice high school, but it was horrible connection. It was so bad. So bad policy. But anyway, the state competition started at CMU, and CMU was nice. It was a nice campus. I got really familiar with it. And I remember our first year, we didn't really expect, I don't know how we expected. I think we got a little over our head the first year because we thought, okay, we got first to regional, we must be one of the top teams around, we're going to do so good, we're going to move on to the global competition. And then same rules apply in the state competition. Top 3 move on from each section and each challenge. Top 9 move on again. And the competition range was usually larger since all the teams in the state came to one place to compete. Same amount of regions. They were divided by region, and they had like the ceremony. The ceremony for the regional competition took place in like a gymnasium. The ceremony for the state competition took place in the basketball arena, which was a nice basketball arena, I gotta admit. And we ended up taking 6th, which we weren't very happy about. I remember. Which, I mean, at the time, there was like 15 teams in our things. We took 6th. It wasn't horrible for our first go-around. Like, I'm proud of that now. But back then, I was very disappointed. I was not happy at all with that. Nobody was. We sucked, and there's nothing we could do about it. Kind of just had to move on. But that was the end of our first year. It was a lot of fun, though. I remember one time we were practicing, and one of the things we had with this like phone, we used the phone, like a fake phone, or a broken phone. We call our parents on the phone, or whatever, or they call us. I don't remember. But we had an actual like flip phone, right? And this was like 2000. This would have been, I was 3rd grade, so I would have been 8. They're like 2011 or something like that. So flip phones were not too popular then, but they were still prevalent. But I liked flipping the phone up. I would just go like that, and the phone would open. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. So one time we were practicing, and I grabbed the phone. I was just playing around with the phone like this, and I wanted to flick it as hard as I could to make it open. And I ended up losing it, and ended up flying into a wall on the other side of the room we were in, and crashing up against the wall. It somehow didn't break. It was probably a Nokia, that's why, but maybe it was a Motorola, I don't remember. But it was just hit against the wall. It freaked me out for a minute. It was hilarious to look back on. That was the first year we really learned how to build stuff. That was a big year we learned how to build things. We always got together and built stuff in the cold in a garage. That was pretty annoying, and that would be prevalent throughout all of our years here. But overall, it was a fun season. I got to meet a lot of people. We were all very excited to do again next year. And really, we were motivated. We were wanting to go to globals, and we were going to do whatever we could to do that. So, and that takes us to the second section of this video, as I'm going to pull that up, make sure my reference notes are correct. Okay. So second time around, we did the state competition and the regional competition. Before I begin, I wanted to touch on. Actually, I'll keep that secret. Second time around, 4th grade and 5th grade, we had the same team name and the same team. We upgraded from 6 people to 7 people. Now, let me tell you, that was the maximum. You can have a team anywhere between 2 and 7 people. We never got down to 2, but we got up to 7 in 4th grade. And we would say that way in 5th grade. So we would keep, it was the same team member, so we kept the same name. It was our most clever name by far, Team Inc. And Team Inc. was actually an acronym for all 7 of our first names organized in one thing. So we had really cool shirts with like the acronym and then like drop down for each name. We had a picture on the back of our shirts. It was awesome. Like we were, this was the peak pinnacle of our cool name making awesomeness, and it was so awesome to actually make that name. It was so cool. And talking about, and then we got cool shirts made. But the funny thing about the shirts was we wore them for the first time at our competition, at a regional competition, and then we had to get them washed. So we were supposed to wear them for school the next day. We were supposed to wear them when we got back to school for, because every time we would go end a competition, we end up wearing our shirts that we wore at that competition, then at the first day back to school. And if we got a medal, we would wear that too. And our shirt, every shirt that you put in the wash, it would literally like disintegrate, because the Team Ink thing was it was like plastered on there. It wasn't like markered or anything like that. It was plastered on there, so it ripped up in the wash, and it was so bad. And so I had to get a new shirt made on the fly, thanks to my mother for doing that, because that was a lot of work. But she did it, and I got to wear it at school, and it's crazy. Awesome stuff. And then, so teaming, how did we do though? We had a clever team name, but how did we perform? Well, we got first at both the regional competitions in 4th and 5th grade. And I remember our first year in, I think 4th grade was the year of the volcano, right? I think 4th grade was the first, no, 4th grade was the moon. Okay, 4th grade was the moon. So our plan so our set in 4th grade was we were in this like history museum. And there was 2 exhibits that we made. One was of Queen Elizabeth, and one of the girls was Queen Elizabeth. They had like baby powder on her face and a nice big elaborate dress and hair and everything. And we made this picture frame for her to step out of and stuff like that, because and then I was Neil Armstrong. So I actually got to step in a spacesuit. I had the boots on. I had a helmet on, and I actually stood on the moon with a makeshift American flag, and I was like standing up there. It was all proud and awesome. And then the gimmick was we had this like chandelier, and it would like not chandelier, but like wind chimes, and then the wind would blow, and it would blow the chimes, and then we'd come to life. Me and the other girl, we come to life, and we'd be able to like walk around and stuff like that. And it was the whole. I remember that wind chimes was like our big technical aspect. Like they had to work, and that was a big thing. We had cool sound effects as well. But I remember one big thing from that performance was the backdrop for that was so flimsy. We came very familiar with a big piece of our DI careers, and that was duct tape. We became very familiar with duct tape, because our backdrop was a bunch of PVC pipe all knotted together with duct tape. That was not fun at all. To try and have that work out. Try and work that out. The tape would secure it, but we would have to put layers and layers and layers and layers and layers and layers of duct tape on. So much that when we actually took the duct tape off to dismantle it, the pieces of the pipe were covered in gunk. So we had to literally soak the pipes to get the gunk off, so that way it would be easier to reconnect them when we need to put the thing back together and then be able to tape them back on. So that wasn't fun at all. But my most harrowing story from this is when we were practicing. They were worried because I forgot to mention also, when we did the performance, that we had a specific square of space that we had to work with. So we had to fit our entire set in that area. And we actually had to set a part of our time during the performance was actually to set up everything. We had a staging area. We moved everything out. And that became very, very challenging some years. I remember one time that happened. We'll get to that one a little bit later. But we had to bring this moon out. This moon was a beanbag, right? And I would stand on it, and when I would get off the moon, I would fall because I would like trip. and fall off the moon and like land on the ground. And during rehearsals, it was fine because we had a lot of wide open carpet space. We made sure there was enough room. It wasn't a problem. Like I would fall and it wasn't that big of a fall. I just fall and then I get up and then, do the rest of the skit. The state competition though, in fourth grade, we were on the stage, like an actual elevated stage, like this big lecture hall at CMU. And so we got to view it the night before, and we joked around that I might fall off the stage when I fell because I might slide because it was a hard floor, not carpet. Well, come the performance the next day, I have to do the part where I fall off, and I fall, and I keep sliding, and sliding, and sliding, and sliding. I didn't fall. My head went over, but my rest of my body stayed, so I didn't fall. Holy moly, that was yeah. Holy moly, was that a little bit scary? Because it was full too. There was a lot of people in there, and to fall with all those people in there would have been just absolutely atrocious. But we didn't. I didn't fall. I didn't die. I would have fallen because I would have fallen right down on my head and probably broke my neck, and that would have been caused a whole host of problems. But didn't happen. We're all good. We completed the rest of it fine. In fourth grade, I think we placed sixth again, which sucked. We were really close that year, I remember. What was that year? Did we place fifth or sixth? Maybe we placed eighth. Trying to get my years mixed up here. I think that year we placed... I'm going to say we placed seventh. I'm going to say we placed eighth. I think we placed eighth. I know it was a very low one. We had a really good year one year. Not so good the next year. I'm going to say that year, though, we placed eighth. I think because we bombed the instant challenge that year, which... because... the pros and there's advantages and disadvantages to having a large team versus a small team, right? The small team, there's less people to worry about. It can be more organized, but there's also more stuff for each person to do. When you have a bigger team, there's more roles that they can be filled, more work, more efficiency during the performance, but also there's more people to manage. There's more people trying to take up the same amount of space. It can get a little congested, can get a little overwhelming, can be a little hard to get everything controlled, especially when you're in the fucking fourth grade. Okay, so that was tough, but. So we didn't do that well, and we were kind of disappointed. And the whole team returns for fifth grade, and we do really good. This year we had a set. It was a volcano, and it was like we had our own makeshift like volcano eruption. The volcano was made out of chicken wire, and I remember having to work with the chicken wire. It wasn't the last time I worked with chicken wire either. But it was basically a massive paper mache chicken wire volcano, and it would we would confetti, it would blow up the thing, a boom, 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 yeah, and all kind of stuff. And we had I don't remember what else we really had. We had a sign. We had a car. That was the year of the car. We had a car, and the car it was like a remote control car, and we made out of Legos. We built it out of Legos, and we would roll it around and stuff, and it would deliver stuff. And it was like a little rover to go up the volcano for him. So that was really cool. That was one of our more elaborate piece sets. That was just a year of messiness for the most part. I remember we had to work with glue, a lot of glue. Holy crap. We did it. We did really good. We took first again in the regional competition, as I said, and then the state competition. We came so close. We took fourth. Oh, we were so disappointed. It was so close. Oh, I thought that was just back then. I thought we hit our peak. We were done. We're gonna be done for. It was oh my god, seriously. I mean, I cannot believe we took fourth. That was so crazy that we took fourth, but we did. And I also want to touch on, I'll actually touch on after this era, but I got a few funny stories about DI workshops that we did. But, and then we come back for sixth grade, and most of the team returned. A couple people quit, but we brought on somebody new. So we're back down to six. for this year. Most of the main core returned, so that's why I'm including it in the same era, because after this it gets really, we have to describe the changes, but this year we did the Fine Arts. By the way, all 3 years we did the Fine Arts Challenge. These 3 years were all the Fine Arts Challenge. And it grew to me really not like the Fine Arts Challenge. It had a lot of prep work. It had a lot of pieces, a lot of art, which the girls liked. And that's why we chose it, because the majority of our team was girls. Because they like to paint, and they like to do makeup, and they like to make costumes, and they like to act, and they like to do this stuff. Whereas I'm okay with building stuff, but I don't really like to act that much. I'm not okay. I'm not really good at it either. So, but whatever. This year, though, I remember we had a book. We built this big book, and it was all styrofoam, but we like working pages, like the pages of stuff, and it was like elaborately painted and decorated, and it was like fun stuff in there. And I think it was just like this like horror book, like a horror movie, or when like a horror scene. Like this girl went through a mirror and went like back in time and went like against this like witch. And I remember the girl that played the witch, and then we had like the backdrop, and then we had a bunch of like mini, like a glass bell, and we had a we had a glass bell, and we had a like a mini book that resembled the big book. We had a mirror and to fall through, kind of like the picture frame from 4th grade, but a little bit better done this time. And a bunch of other like huge set pieces and whatever. It's crazy, but that year we didn't do so hot. We took second at regionals. It was the only time we did not place first at regionals. We actually tied for second. Ties were more common than you might think. It was a lot of ties. We tied with people that we knew, so I guess it was a little bit better. We were okay with it. I guess we moved on. That was the only time we ever took second, though. It was a little bit of a fun fact. At least in the regional competition, it was the only time we took second. So we were okay with it. States we bombed. I remember the instant challenge especially. We just completely bombed it. We did horrible. We were so pissed that we had done that, and we knew chances were slim that we were going to make it after that. It was a really hard instant challenge too. I remember it was one that you couldn't really prepare for, because it wasn't going. It was like a completely new thing, and so a bunch of other teams bombed it too, but some did better than we did, so it was enough for them to move on. But what are you going to do? We didn't do very good. We did not make it. And that was the end of the second era. A lot of people left. Only a couple people from the original team stayed after that. A bunch of people left. And we returned to 7th grade, which I'll get to in a minute. But I do want to do a little intermission talking about DI workshops, okay? Because we usually like DI workshops. They would go like city centers or whatever, convention centers, and we go and we get to learn how to act, and we get to learn how to build, and we get to do improv work, and different building techniques, and we get to meet other people. And there was one time that we did that. That's like weird remote college area, like school kind of. We had this like, we had to do this like improv skit, and we had to do it pretty much on the fly. And we stood there, and we were in front of a bunch of people when we did it. And we planned it out. We were all set to go, and then we start. And when it's my turn, I face the wrong direction, and that's a big no-no when you are acting, is to face the wrong direction, especially without a mic. I freaked out. I just impulse did it. I freaked out, and I just tried to finish my line and just pass it on to the next guy. And I was the first one to get called out for flaws when that happened. That was very embarrassing. I hated that lady that led that thing. But, I mean, she was right. I mean, I can't say she was wrong, because didn't really have any justice to say she was wrong. But what are you going to do? I don't know. But also, a couple other ones. I remember I dissected a cow eye. I remember I think in the school story video in like the 10th grade, I dissected a frog. Well, 8th grade, in this workshop, in like the 4th grade or 3rd grade, I dissected a cow eye. So that was fun. Gross as hell. And then, another time I got to play with Oobleck. Now, Oobleck's a substance that, if you press it down softly, it becomes a liquid, but if you hit it really hard, it becomes a solid. I thought that was just the most fascinating thing in the world, and I loved playing with the Oobleck. It's crazy. You could like coat your hand in it. It would kind of mess up the substance. You could like get a little bit of splash action going if you hit it when your hand was covered in Oobleck. Slime is like a glue slime substance if you want to try and think about it that way. But like, bam, just like super. It was like hitting concrete if you hit it like slapped it. You put your hand in gently, it would be like a liquid. Really, really fascinating substance to do. And we ran a few other things. We ran I remember one time we ran like a instant challenge workshop section when we were older. We had to take care of everything, and we would get to we had to run all the stuff, and that was pretty fun. And I remember another time we got to do something. I don't remember what that was. Shit. I had it on my mind. Fuck. I don't remember. Well, we'll get back to it later. But anyway, so those are cool workshops, and they didn't really do much. I mean, we applied them for 2 practice sessions, and they just went back to normal. So they didn't really apply to anything. They were fun to look back on, though. All right, so that takes us to our next session, which was 7th grade. This is the year I like to forget, not because of just because it was a awkward year. It was a bad year. We were downsized to 4 after being around 6 to 7. We were downsized to 4. So we had to learn how to adapt with less people. A couple new. Eli joined for the first time that year. He had been on a different team off and on for a few years, and then another girl joined us along with me and another person from the original Team Inc. days. And I remember our set. We picked the scientific challenge. We were so happy. This was the one light thing from that year. One really good thing is we didn't do fine arts. It was so nice to not do fine arts for the first time. We did the scientific challenge again. So try something new, And we did our set. I remember that year was an undersea treasure expedition, and one of the bigger things was these frog costumes. Okay, these frog costumes. This is where the chicken wire comes back in. We had chicken wire right on these costumes, and they were, holy moly, these things were so pokey because you had to get in the chicken wire in there and poke the chicken wire out, make sure that it was safe for people to walk in, because we had to literally sit in there and do stuff with them. I didn't, but I mean, 2 other people did. We had 2 of them, and then they put the cloth around it. Oh, it was painful to work with, but hey, got it done. Another big thing that year is I baked coral. I took dough and I baked it into the shape of coral. I actually literally baked it, and then painted them cool colors. I still have that, by the way. There's another thing that I have from the 4th grade artifact. Touch on a few artifacts that I have. The 4th grade year, I got a 80s style telephone that I made, plus an 80s style Mac computer that I have. At least the actual desktop thing itself. I don't know if I still have the keyboard or not. I don't think I do. But the phone I still have. I have a arm, a mold, arm mold, and a hand mold. That was from 10th grade. We'll get to that a little bit later. That I made out of I don't remember what I made it out of. I think it was glue. I don't remember what else. I think that's it from all the artifacts that I kept. Oh, I have a side painting from, I think that was 10th grade, I think it was. Was it 9th grade? I think it might have been 9th grade that happened. I don't remember it being 10th grade. I think that was 9th grade that the side piece was made. I think I have a couple of smaller pieces, but those are the main ones. But anyway, I still have this coral, and we also were on the ship, and we were going along, and we had to do deep sea dive expeditions. It was pretty corny. It was cool set pieces. We worked a lot. We worked a lot with hot glue that year, and I don't know if you could see, the remnants are actually from said hot glue are on that table right now. And we kind of fucked up the ping pong. Fuck. And I fucked up my mic as well. But no, I fucked up the ping pong table doing all that sort of stuff. So that was not fun. And we also got some of the carpets. Not really bad though. But yeah, we worked a lot with hot glue that year. A lot of hot glue. We found that year to just be very unproductive because that was the first year we were kind of trying to take things into our own hands. And the results kind of showed we did take first place at regionals by default because we were the only ones that were competing in there in that by one. That was the first one we had default, like move on by default. Because we were the only ones participating, or I think one of only two. We took first regardless, and then regional, and then states took sixth, which I guess I can't say I didn't expect. It was disappointing as well, but I say I didn't expect it. It was still a lot of fun though. To do. And that was the last year, 7th grade was also the last year that States was at CMU. It moved to MSU starting in 8th grade. And that was the glory years, 8th through 10th grade, the glory years, the years of our great successes, great triumphs. We got two old members returned alongside me, Eli, and the other girl who stayed. The new girl left after that year, and then two older people came on, so we had two of the older members came back on from the Team Inc. day, so we're up to 5 again, and we stayed at 5 for the 8th grade. I think we stayed at 5 for 9th and 10th grade as well. No. We were 5 for 8th and 9th grade, we went down to 3 for 10th grade, and then we went back up to 4 for 11th grade, and then back down to 3. We'll get to that a little bit later, but so this is 5. This is year of 5. And this was a year we had to do like a mystery. It was like a mystery, we had to solve a mystery, you know. And the biggest set piece is by far the heaviest set piece. It was by far the most complicated set piece, yet the most simple at the same time. It was the spinning board, and we would literally wind it up by having what's it? I can't even remember what it's called, but it's like physical therapy, like stretchy stuff that you use like physical therapy. We literally winded that. We got a bunch of that, wind it around the table, right? And then we would unwind it and just let it spin. And it acted as kind of like our like travel from one era to the next sort of thing, like a teleporter, as whatever. But we also that one was themed to Clue. So we had to do like references to Clue. I think we made a little board themed to Clue, and we were all different characters from Clue. It was really, really good. That was probably our best set ever. It was really awesome, and it paid off. We took first at regionals, go on to states. Did not know what to expect, but we did it. We took first for the first time. We went on to the global finals competition. We did horrible global finals, but we didn't care. We had made it to global finals. Oh, that was probably one of the greatest days of my life. Getting to finally walk on the stage. And we walked down at the Breslin Center at MSU as well. We got to walk down there, get a first place medal, get a trophy in front of all these people. It was so awesome. I was so happy. Oh, greatest moment of my DI career probably right there, but one of the best of my life as well. Oh my god. And then we did it. So awesome. We did a little bit of preparation for globals, but mostly we didn't care. We were just trying to figure out how to do this. I actually went to globals the year prior as a spectator and got to see how it kind of like worked, but this time I actually got to participate in it. And global finals took place in Knoxville, Tennessee at the University of Tennessee for, the first 2 times we went. And then the third time it got moved to Kansas City, downtown Kansas City, Missouri. But the campus was really nice. I got to try to check out the campus and got to see all the cool stuff. And they had the ceremony in the big basketball arena. They would have competitions taking place in different buildings, stuff like that. Cool events and stuff like that. Big convention center for all like the main events, things, and food and stuff like that. And that was always like really fun. And global finals is so cool because you get to see all different kinds of cultures, all different kinds of people. Because you have other people, you get to meet people from other states. You just get to meet people from like China and Poland and Brazil and Paraguay, Sri Lanka. Not Sri Lanka. What was it called? Maybe it was Sri Lanka. It starts with an S. It's in East Asia. I think Japan was there, Canada, Mexico, not Britain, mainly China. China had a huge presence in DI, Texas too, and they were all there in one place, and it was so cool. Michigan had a pretty heavy presence in it as well. That has since declined, but So cool. It was so awesome to finally be there, and it was really awesome because you participate. It's one thing to be there as a spectator, but to be there as a participant is another thing because it's so cool. To really just get to see it all, and really awesome. So that was cool. And then, but one of my favorite things from Global Finals was pin trading. Now I get to finally talk about the importance of pins in DI. Pins, this is where I got into pins. Like the first year we went, I got to go as a spectator, and what they did, and like the pins were a thing. Like they had challenge pins for each of the challenges, and they had like team member pins and stuff like that that you get to buy at the regional and the state competitions. With the global competition, it is exorbitant. It just grows like millions. You have these pins, right? And you get like these sets of pins that are for each state, right? And there's 3 sets of pins. Like the sets, like they go together, and you get 2. One to trade, one to keep for yourself. First year, we got a lightsaber set. I traded both of them away. Why did I do that? I don't know. We also goldfish that year. I don't remember what the other one was. I don't know. Then the next year we got to go. One of my favorite ones was called the Vowels, and they were owls, but they had each of the actual like letter vowels on them. It was so cool. And then they always had a rare one that you could get by like watching a certain amount of performances from Michigan. And that year, the one with the vowels was the Y owl. And they also had like a rainbow one as well, which was really cool. They always had like special challenges that like everybody could participate in the globals as well to get pins. They had like a scavenger hunt. They had like an exploration one, a game you could participate in, some events or whatever. It was so awesome. You could get so many different kind of pins. But the big way you got pins was pin trading. I talked about it a little bit already. They had a room, there was like an outdoor pavilion area, but it was covered in a tent, and you just got to pins everywhere. Oh, it was so cool. Oh. And I've showed my pin collection off on the channel before. I actually have to do an update about that soon, probably, because I've gotten quite a few more. I don't get DI pins anymore. I just buy pins wherever I go, but I have a lot of DI pins. And one of the first pins that always caught my attention was a Maryland Dragon. I've got 2 Maryland Dragons now. I really wanted one. I finally got 2 of them. Not even in Tennessee. I got them in Kansas City, but oh, that was so cool. So cool. It would have been great vlog material if I was doing my channel back then. I was doing it the last year we went to Globals, but not the first 2. And I wouldn't have vlogged it anyways. It was great to just keep it as a private moment as well. I'm so awesome. So many cool things to do. The performance was just kind of there. I mean, like, every year we went to Globals, every year we put a little bit more effort into it, but we always just wanted to make sure that we had fun. And it was one major thing that we always had to focus on as well is the cost, because it was all costly to go to this. So we had to do fundraisers. And one of the biggest fundraisers we did was a can drive. And we would spend literally days and go around to different neighborhoods, knock on doors, ask for cans. We had to go the day before and put flyers out. We also go on, knock on doors, and ask for cans. And then every time we got cans, we had to put them in a truck. We had to go walk around, and then we eventually brought the cans back. They would get sorted, and then we had to run to the store and return them. It was a whole day thing. Not fun at all. Especially since the return on investment usually wasn't that great. Like, the investment on our time usually didn't get returned in a good financial way most of the time. And the more people that did it, the more the costs had to be split. So you really were making that much. And it took a lot of time to do. And that was can drives, man. Can drives. Those were crazy. I actually cut my finger one time on a can. I was standing in the bottle room, and I just had cut my finger on a can and just kind of nursed it back to health. Probably not great, but hey, what are you gonna do? Those took so long, but you know what? It was a huge financial cost, but we always made it. We always did it. Found a way to do it. We always got a way to go. Sometimes we had to get like little partnerships or sponsors or whatever, and some people would help that way. And eventually, we got in. We had to do it. And pin trading was always my most favorite part. I also got a really cool eye key pin. That was really cool. I got a lot of other fun pin sets that you've seen in the pin collection video. I haven't got any new DI pin sets, but and then globals, we never really, globals was like the ultimate, like there was hundreds of teams in each of these sections because it was from all different countries and stuff like that, and states and whatever. We never placed that good. I think we placed top 30. Top 30 was really good. Like overall spectrum really good for our standards, not really that great, but for everybody it was amazing. Another year I think we placed like 60th. No, 60th, maybe 40th, top 40, and then it's 30, and then top 50 one year. But what are you gonna do? I mean, so that was seventh. That was eighth grade. Greatest year. We're so awesome. It was, and the global finals overall was just an awesome experience. Tennessee was especially fun because different buildings you get to work through, and you get to explore the campus, and they got you around Knoxville. And Knoxville, there's not a lot to do in Knoxville besides that, but when you're in there doing for DI, I mean, there's stuff to do, and you got to really focus on DI. And there was a cool, one time we did this costume ball, and we got to make costumes out of duct tape, and we got to go like a costume ball. So I remember one year it was Batman. I remember another year we collaborated as like Guess Who characters. And there was always like a T-Rex, like the inflatable guy, a T-Rex. That was always fun to walk around, and then there was also this opening and closing ceremonies, kind of like the Olympics, because remember, it's a 4-day event. So the first night is opening ceremonies, the last night's closing ceremonies. So you have to literally, and then there's like opening ceremonies, and that's where opening ceremonies, like you get to introduce all the countries and the challenges and stuff, what's going to be going on. The closing ceremonies, you get to figure out who placed where, and see who won, and all these awards and stuff. And there's always like the fun, elaborate light shows and stuff like that they did, and other fun things. They had like a DJ guy. He was pretty annoying, but he played good music. And oh my god, it was just so cool. So fucking cool. I would totally do global finals again, heartbeat, if I had to, because it was so like the experience between the states and globals was so grueling. And you always thought to yourself, I'm not gonna do this again next year if it's this much cost. Then you get there and you actually do the event, and you're like, wow, I'm gonna do this again. Like it's so high reward, even if it takes a lot of your time away in between then. And I got to miss school as well. I mean, how could you not pass down? How could you pass down not missing school? I mean, come on. It was so awesome. It really was. And then, oh my god. And then, so that was, okay, back on my arrow train. That was 8th grade we did. That was the technical challenge as well. We did technical again. That was the clue set again with the stage. And the stage was so heavy. It was like a fold-up taco stage, too. And I remember when we threw it away, when we were done, we threw it away. Because they had like a track, you could dump all your props away when you're done. So you didn't have to transport them back home if you didn't want to. So we had to throw that stage away. Was so relieving. It was so heavy, but it was so relieving to finally have the thing off our backs. It was great. It was awesome. It was absolutely awesome. And then 9th grade was the same team. And we ended up going back to globals. We placed second, and we ended up going back to globals. And what we did is we placed second, right? Second, we went back to globals, and this time was the game. It was like a game. It was like a series of games, and one of them was like this arcade thing, and that's where the side piece came from that I talked about earlier. It's like these like little leaf blowers. You can blow little tiles around. I think I kept one of those. They didn't work very good, but it was whatever. It's cool. One of our big elaborate pieces that ended up getting cut at the last second was this projection screen. We had this like PVC pipe like frame, and then we put this like carpeted thing on, like this like little like board thing, and then we were going to use an actual projector, like a real projector, not the one that we made, and we project it onto our screen. And now using projector is very risky. I forgot to mention this. You had a budget. It was $150 budget. Because they wanted you to get creative. They didn't want you to just buy stuff. They wanted you to be creative. So you'd use recycled cardboard or recycled wood or recycled paint and stuff like that. However, you could just list what you bought in the price, what you got in the price, what you're using in the prices by yourself. So you could just say you got a garage sale for like $5, $10, and you'd be good. Even though you might have bought it for like $100 or whatever. I mean, so there were ways around it. It wasn't that hard. But you had a budget, so you had to work around that. Make sure your thing wasn't too elaborate, make sure it looked creative. And we usually follow the rules. We usually got our own wood, and we usually built it all of ourselves. Didn't buy anything, so we were pretty good about it. But you could get around it if you really wanted to. I don't think they really enforced it that much, but you could get around it if you wanted to. And then so we had like the leaf blowers and stuff like that. And I think one of us had a mask on, if I remember, and performances. And the projector screen didn't really work because you couldn't really see it. And we also, the slideshow was really hard to work with because somebody had to go around and change slides because you had a computer and you had to make sure the computer was on and it had a password to it. So you had to make sure I was the only one that knew the password. And eventually it just became too much and we cut it the last second because it didn't really work. And we just didn't really want to flirt around, and we just kind of cut it the last second going for just before globals. Didn't really hurt our performance score that much. I think it actually improved it because we didn't have to worry about it. We could focus on the other stuff, make everything better. And that was a fun year. There was a lot of arguing that year. There's always a lot of arguing, being petty high schoolers, but there's a lot that year. And eventually, and then that was it. And then 2000, and then the 10th grade, the last real full year, we downsized to 4. One of the guys left. So we were at 4. Oh no, we were at 3. We were at 3. Went down to 3. One of the girls quit. Who had been there the entire time. She quit the team. Another guy quit. And Eli was still there though. Me, Eli, and another girl. Going to 10th grade. And this was the year of the arm with the arm and hand mold that I had made. And we made it out of like I don't even know what it was called, but it was like this like material where you melted it and you molded it, and then it hardened and you could paint it. And that was so cool because we had like this like the story of the story was around like a girl who was freaking out about her wedding day, and so she was getting like these rashes, and she didn't know why she was getting these rashes. So she went to a doctor, and the doctor told her that the rashes were because she was so stressed out. And that she needed to not be worrying so much. And then she doesn't worry, the rashes go away. And so one of the big elaborate set pieces, part of the technical aspect, was we had to have this thing. So the arm, right? The actual arm, not the hand. The hand had no function. It just was there to be a hand. The arm though had like splotches on it, right? And like to represent rashes, and they're painted splotches on there, but they were special heat sensitive paint. And so then we had this bag, and get ready for this, we had this bag, right, and we filled it with road salt, and we pour the road salt in, and then we pour water into that, heats it up. So then you pour the bag over the arm, the rashes go away because heat sensitive paint goes away. There were a lot of flaws with that. I was the one who had to operate the bag, and it would get so hot that it could really, really, really burn your hand. So I had to wear a glove. I actually had to wear a glove during it. And also, like, it would get so hot that it would actually melt the plastic of the plastic bag. So we had to make sure that we did it timely. We had to waste a lot of bags. A lot of road salt got wasted. A lot of water got wasted, but it worked really well, surprisingly, and it got us a pretty good score on our thing because we went back to globals, and that was one of the big reasons why we did. We had a few other awesome set pieces as well that were really awesome, and we got back, and I remember we did it in this big convention room. This was the first years in Kansas City, and the difference between it in Tennessee and Kansas City was Kansas City had one area. It was in one big convention center. Other than the ceremonies were held at the Sprint Center. I've done my review of the Sprint Center. Everything else, though, was in one convention center. The pin trading was in its own room. Everything was in its own room in this big convention center. It kept it nice and centralized because since it was right in downtown Kansas City, so it wasn't a lot. It kept traffic a little bit more congested, but hey, it worked out. The location was pretty fun. I don't know why they moved it. I guess their contract ended. I don't know why they didn't just extend that contract with Kansas City, or not Kansas City, with Tennessee, because it was a nice location. A lot of people liked it. I guess Kansas City was a little more central than like the southeastern United States. Now we're actually in the central U.S., so I think that's why they did it. It was cool. Got to see Kansas City. Got to try their barbecue. Got to see the stadiums. I didn't get to do the College Basketball Hall of Fame, but I did get. The reason why I still have a shirt though and a pin from it is because they actually let us go into the gift shop, only to the gift shop, and get a pin, which was actually way in the back of the place. But we got to do that. We got to try out to see the Sprint Center. We got to see downtown and all that kind of stuff. And we made it back to Globals, and I remember, oh god, the Instant Challenge. That was the year we had that big argument about the Instant Challenge. That's right. The Instant Challenge actually didn't take place in that main convention center. They took place in a hotel center, big hotel. It was a really, really nice hotel. It was like themed like a jungle. So like some of the rooms, some of the suites, right? They literally overlooked this like freaking jungle. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. It was like the coolest thing ever. And like in the lobby, it was like jungles too. It was really, really cool. But the Instant Challenge, I remember, that was a rough Instant Challenge. And we did really good on the Central Challenge, which made it suck even more that we did bad on the Instant Challenge. I think that we had a pretty legitimate shot at doing really good that year. We did the good in the Instant Challenge. And looking back, it was a whole collective team effort for why we did bad. And there was a lot of arguing that took place at the cool down room, which, by the way, the cool down room is like where you get to go after the Instant Challenge to discuss it, to debrief it, and to like other small fun activities and stuff like that you got to do. And yeah, there was a lot of arguing involved in there. But we did it. We got through it. That wasn't bad, but it was bad, but we got through it. Didn't do very hot, but hey, what are you gonna do? And then we were getting ready to do it again, so that was the end of that era. The girl on that team quit. The other girl came back along, and she brought one of her friends from the other team she had joined that year. She brought one of her friends over to our team, so that was 4. So we're back up to 4, and this is our junior year, and we were going pretty good. We decided we did not want to work with set pieces anymore, so this was our first year of the Improv Challenge. We'd always heard about the Improv Challenge. We always wanted to do the Improv Challenge, but we didn't get a chance to until now, because we were older, we had more things on our plate, and we decided that it would be a great thing to try out the Improv Challenge. We did, and it was actually working out really good. We were practicing really well. It was easy because we were able to more to practice. We had stuff that we could keep materials like in our like a little box, right? It was like our box or whatever. I don't remember exactly what it was called. But we got to keep materials in there. So we made a few small things, but mostly we didn't have anything else to work with, and we were really excited to do it because we were doing really good. And that year was going to be big for something else as well. So we were going to be big because we were going to go over to Poland to compete there too. I remember we talked about at the beginning, they did these international competitions. They did China and they did Poland. We weren't going to do China. Fuck you, China. We were going to do Poland. And, oh, yeah, we were so excited. We were ready to go. We were going to meet cool people. We were going to meet high schoolers that competed over there. And we were going to compete for fun. And it was going to be a whole awesome experience. And we were also ready to go as far as our improv challenge. We didn't really care we made globals that year because we were really focusing on Poland. I don't think we were actually going to go to globals anyways if we even have made it. I think we were just competing for fun. We did the regional competition and we did a final debrief about Poland, and we were just like a week away from leaving, or a week and a half away from leaving. We did regionals. We took first at regionals. And then we all know what happened then. The pandemic hit and everything shut down. Our trip got canceled. We got refunded. Our trip got canceled. The state competition got canceled. The globals ended up getting canceled as well. Actually, no, globals got moved online. Yeah, that was very, very devastating. We were so ready to go. We were so excited to go. It sucked. Yeah, everybody felt bad for us, and it was going to be so awesome. I'd flown in a plane once up until that point, and I was getting to go overseas for the first time as well. And that was very sad. If I ever get the chance to go back to Poland, I might, but I don't know. There's other things besides COVID that we're worrying about right now as well in Poland, so we have to worry about that. And maybe it was a great opportunity, but it was not meant to be, I guess. And yeah, it's okay. We'll go. I'll be overseas eventually, guys. Don't worry. There's some cool coasters I want to ride overseas, and also some cool places over there I want to see. Not just in Poland as well, because we have ancestry in Poland, but Poland and then a bunch of other awesome things as well. So I'll get over there, but it wasn't meant to be for that time. States wasn't meant to be there. We didn't even get to compete in that, and that was kind of the end of that year. We were so ready to go too, and that really sucked because it was gonna be like our last exit. We were kind of debating if we were even gonna do it senior year because of all the other activities, and we were just kind of getting ready to getting ready to end it, and it's just kind of like that. COVID took it all out for us. So, but the two girls quit after that. They didn't want to do it because of other constraints that came with the pandemic, and just didn't want to do it anymore. One was graduating, the other didn't want to compete anymore. But me and Eli, we weren't going to give up. We wanted to compete in globals. We wanted to finish the year off. We wanted to do it. Get down. Wanted to finish it. Thankfully, Brian decided to come with us and join us on our last great DI adventure, and be there with us on our last major expedition for global finals. Excuse the cat. She's about to jump up onto the windowsill. Will she? Maybe not. There she goes. Okay. Okay, now Brian decided to join us, so we have 3. We didn't want to do 2. We had to do 3. And then we get to online, right? And competing in global finals. Competing online was weird. It was weird for sure. And we kept the improv challenge because it was easy. Improv's really the only one you could do online. I mean, some people did ones with sets and stuff, but imagine having to do that over a fucking Google Meet or a Zoom call. That'd be crazy. So we did improv. It made it okay. It made it doable, I will say, to compete in these. And we did okay. I mean, we were able to figure it out, and we did globals, and we placed pretty good. We did all right. I don't remember exactly what we placed. Brian, or Eli, can you confirm down below what we placed in that competition? And globals kind of ended. But we had to do it online, and it was okay. It wasn't a great finish, but at least we got to do it. It was a cheap entry price for globals as well, which is one of the main reasons why we did it. So I don't know. Who knows what could have been that year is all I can really think of. And then they decided to do the same thing again next year. All the competitions would be online for 2021. And since it was online, we decided to compete in it and do it. It looks good on scholarships. It looks, it's something fun to do. We weren't very motivated. And it was kind of like we had to do like an improv challenge. I don't think we had to do an improv challenge. We had to actually build something, and we actually had to make it work. But because it was online and because of COVID protocols, they wanted us to be in the same. They didn't want us to be in the same room. So what we actually did is we practiced it together, like in the same room, and then we'd all go to separate rooms in the house, and then record it, so that we knew what we were doing and could provide a little bit more functionality, sort of thing. So that year, I remember we had this elaborate set, and I had to stack things on it and whatever. I remember we was not that motivated because we had a bunch of other things going on. I had my job at that point, and so it was whatever. But we eventually did it, and we competed in the regionals and the state competition, placing 3rd at states and 1st at regionals. And so it was our first ever 3rd place finish. And I also got my scholarship that year. I got a scholarship for DI. So that was pretty cool. And we didn't do globals because it had a stupidly high entry fee this time around, even though it was the same thing as it was going to be the year prior. And then that is it. Called it quits after that because I was going into college, and MSU doesn't really have a program for it, and or any club or anything dedicated to it. I don't even know if they're still doing the university level or not. Regardless, though, I'm not going to do it. My days as a competitor, as a team member, are done. So, what are you going to do? Maybe I'd be up to, if I had children eventually, becoming a team leader. If I had children and want to lead a team, I'd also be up with becoming an appraiser, which is the team, which are the people that grade the performances. They actually watch you and they make sure you hit all the aspects and stuff. You get a cool red tie. At least I thought you got a red tie. Apparently, you just got to buy it yourself, and then you get to wear it and put pins on it and stuff like that. And people know that you're an appraiser. You're like a DI alumni sort of thing. So maybe I can become one of those people. Maybe we'll see. But I don't know where the future is going to hold for that. I got a lot of other things to worry about. But I'm up to doing it if I get the opportunity, if I get the chance, if I get the time. We'll just have to find out. So, but that's been it. That's my DI stories. A lot of fun. It was a lot of fun though. I'll never forget it. It taught me a lot of awesome, cool teamwork skills, time management skills, physical skills as well, as far as building and acting and stage fright, and a lot of things. I learned a lot of things from it. It's going really downhill. The pandemic kind of accelerated it. It was already starting to go downhill. The pandemic accelerated it. They're going back in person this year for Globals 2022 at Kansas City, even though Kansas City, they're actually going to move locations after 2019 from Kansas City to somewhere else that they didn't even, I don't think they told us where that was going to be. They decided to go back to Kansas City in 2022. I don't know the update on that, where they're going to go after 2022, if they're going to stay in Kansas City or go somewhere else. However, I don't really care because I'm not going to be there. And I hope it gets popular again. I hope they fix the situations and get people back into doing DI, because it was a lot of fun. And it's a really rewarding experience if you get to do it. If you ever got to do it, it's not a lot of it, and everybody liked it. It wasn't for everybody, but if you had a dedication for it and you got the right people with you, it's a lifetime of memories that you get from it. So, but that's it, guys. That's it for my DI stories. It's been a video that I really wanted to do for a long time, and finally got a chance to do it. So, thank you for watching. If you've did DI before and have any other stories from DI, or anything related to it, comment down below. And if you're doing DI right now, how is it? If you did DI before me, or when I did it, how was it? I'd love to hear your stories. So thank you guys for watching again. I'll see you until the next story. This is like the last big story video I had on my agenda. I don't know how many more I'm going to do after this. We'll just see. But just stay tuned. At the time of recording this video, I only have one more exam, and I am done for the year as far as exams go. No more school. Got a bunch of big projects, a bunch of big videos coming up. So stay tuned. It's going to be awesome. Here we go, folks. So until next time, I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.